G'day crew. I'm still running in the engine, but I am planning to do a bit more fishing this trip, hopefully with a bit more success. I'm going to start by dropping some crab pots around, and then I'm going to head up to Shark's Spit and the Four Beacons area to see if I can find some mackerel. After that, I'll just play it by ear. I could try trolling locally, of course, but the main goal of the trip is still to get the engine run-in finished. Bloody grinner. As you can see in the video here from the Time Zero unit, there's plenty of bait in the area, just not much else. Oh, might have a decent one this time. What have we got here? Oh, bloody big grinner. Full of water. Now, I saw quite a few bust-ups south of Shark's Spit, but they were difficult to get close to, and when I did get close enough to cast a slug into the near edge of them, I didn't get any takers. Nevertheless, I did give up on trolling and spent some time trying to get close to the school or trying to get ahead of the school and letting it come to me. All to no avail. From what I could see of the bust-ups and the fish splashing through the water, I thought they were spotty mackerel, but a friend reckons that they're more likely to have been tuna from the behaviour that I described. And I have to admit that I wasn't close enough to get a really good look. I just thought their bodies were more silver than dark. So I eventually gave up on that and headed up to the Four Beacons to see what I could find around there. This is a chin weight that I got from Mr. Bait. You can do much the same thing with gang hooks, a large sinker, rigger's twine and a good bit of skill, but it's much easier to use this. This lets you rig a trolling bait like a pro. All you need is one of these chin weights and some rubber bands. I originally got this for trolling bonito offshore, looking for Spanish mackerel and wahoo. You might have seen me using it in a video approximately a year ago. Anyway, I have these largish pike that I've had in the freezer. They're now thawed out, and I want to try trolling one of them on the downrigger with the chin weight on it to see if I can scare up a cobia. The odds aren't great because I don't plan to spend an awful lot of time on it, but above all I want to check out the idea and see if I can troll the pike using this. But it is worth a shot because the cobia should be around at this time of year, and since I can spend longer periods of time at a constant speed now that I'm getting towards the end of the run-in period, I thought it would at least be worth a try. And as I said, if nothing else, I can test my idea for trolling pike using this chin weight and see if that works for future reference. This is the Chamberlain release. I think I've done a video or segment of a video showing it before, but I'll just show it again for those of you that haven't seen it. It's a brilliant sort of system. This is the coast lock type clip to clip it onto your downrigger ball. I just use the double-ended swivel for that because it's easier. This is a very stiff coast lock. Of course, the other end you clip it onto your downrigger line, but the really good thing about this is it's a two-way release system. This knob here controls the release from the line going from here up to the rod, and you can set that very tight. But this one can be very loose going back for when the fish takes it. So if you're after a fish that doesn't bite real hard, that'll come out real easy. Or you can adjust it and that's quite hard to come out then. That's really hard. So, you know, maybe Spanish mackerel or something knock that off. But really, I don't think you need it that much harder than just enough to hold your bait in. That's my opinion. Because you've got tension on this line here and your rod's going to whip up when it takes it. So that'll help to sink the hook in. So yeah, that's it. The key thing is it's got magnets in here and you can adjust it with this knob and set the exact release weight that you want while having a different release weight from the line up to the rod. Way better than anything else I've ever used. Getting the downrigger ready takes a little bit of preparation, or at least the way I use the downrigger now does need that preparation. First of all, you need to attach the Chamberlain release. There are many other ways to use it, but of all the ones that I've tried, I find that this is the best. Next is attaching the ball to the Chamberlain release, and for that I use a double coast lock swivel. You could attach the ball directly to the Chamberlain release, but the coast lock type clip on that is quite strong, and this is just easier. And it is at this point that I had an equipment failure, and that was very lucky because if it had happened later, I would have lost my cannonball. One end of the double coast lock swivel snapped off just as I was opening it. Now it was a good quality one, not something cheap. You don't want to skimp out on these things. I was just very lucky that it snapped when it did. Now once I'd worked around that, the next thing was to clip the bait to the line and check that it swam correctly. Oh, goody. That's what I needed. Oh. Alright, he's nice and swimmy, I think. Put him in the water and see how he goes. Yeah, swimming fine. Then I extended the downrigger arm out a bit to give some separation from the trolling board I had deployed on the other side of the boat. Now, taking the main line, you need to give it some twists before putting it in the Chamberlain release. I gave it about 10 or 12 twists, and the idea is that that acts as sort of like a loose knot and allows me to put tension on the rod side from the Chamberlain release to the rod, as well as having the bait pulling on the other side. Then it's just a matter of lowering the ball down to whatever depth I decide might work for me. I trolled around for a little while past all of the beacons, or all of the 4 beacons, and didn't get anything, so I ended up spot locking near the last beacon. Now there's no doubt about this school, it was definitely Spotty Mackerel. They were busting up near one of the 4 beacons while I was spot locked not far away. The bust up came and went quite a few times, exactly in the same spot, or very close to it. Now, it was like they balled the bait up and had a slash through it, and then the bait got away and they had to go down and herd it all up again. Whatever the reason, I was pretty happy with it because it allowed me to have a few casts. But in the finish, that wasn't a good thing either. don't tell me I've lost it. A bit north. A mackerel bit my line off at the swivel, which I wasn't happy with. So I retied the line, put another trace on, put my last slug on and had another go. A couple of casts later, same thing happened. And since I only had the 2 slugs on board, that was the end of that. Those of you that have been watching my channel for quite a few years might remember that I used to cryovac my bait. I'd buy pilchards from Mr. Bait, thaw them just enough so that I could separate them and then cryovac them and refreeze them. Now that's going back quite a few years now. Now since I've been getting pilchards from Mr. Bait that have been snap frozen and can be picked out individually from the box without needing to thaw them at all, I haven't bothered with the cryovacking. I just put them in freezer bags, 4 to 6 at a time, and pack them in the freezer. At the same time, I've always kept my leftover liveys to take out next time and cut them up for burley. But a month or so ago, a friend suggested that I should be keeping my leftover liveys and cryovacking them and freezing them to use as bait on the next trip. So I'm doing that again now. Cryovacking, that is. The consumer level cryovac machines aren't very expensive and they pay for themselves in short order, if you're any good at catching bait, that is. I'll put a couple of links down in the video description where you can get some if you're interested. In this case, I've bought out 3 winter whiting and some yakkas from the last trip. That's a pretty big bait I've got, and a bit of current. I want it down on the bottom, so I think I'll put the number 8 on it. Best thing ever for when you don't know how much sinker you need. And grab one of these, click it on, if it's not right, change it for another one, a different size. About 12 metres, that might do it. I'm not going to give it very long here. Oops, a daisy. I'll turn around to you. We're going to clear that. I think we should. Yeah, we've cleared it. Works for Isaac. Oh, well, something got into it. This is something that a good feed. I didn't take a hook though. I think. Geez, whatever it was, certainly stripped it. Yeah, okay. Well. This is a new brand of Sabiki rig that I'm trying. I only picked up the one packet to try it, just in case I don't like it. On the surface, it looks fine. It has number 6 hooks, which are reasonable for general purpose bait. The main line weight and the branch line weight are good. It has 6 hooks, which is a must for me because that allows me to pack them up as 3 pairs of hooks and keep them nicely out of the way. I've done a video on how to pack up a Sabiki rig. I'll try to remember to put a link in the video description in case you want to have a look at that. You can pack it up on a normal rod quite safely. One thing that I didn't notice when I picked the packet up is that it doesn't have a swivel on the bottom with a clip to attach the sinker. Instead, it has a tag end that you can tie the sinker onto. That's not a big deal in itself, but it will slow me down a little bit if I need to change rigs in a hurry. And then I found out just how hard it is to undo this off the card. Virtually every other Sabiki rig I've used, you clip the top of the rig onto your main line and then it just unwraps from the card really easily. On the other hand, this was a nightmare. I'm not going to call out the brand other than what you can see of the packaging on the video. Maybe I just got one out of the bunch where it was a bit twisted in the packaging, which made it extremely hard to get off the card. Now, I could have just been unlucky and got the only one that was like that. On the other hand, I think I'm glad that I only bought the one packet. Okay, well that Rand needs to learn how to pack these things because that is garbage. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to undo. Looks like a nice rig, but oh geez, that was hard to get off. I'm using one of my sliding Snell rigs on a winter whiting here. I'll post a link in the video description to a video that I did on how to make these. With these rigs, I can put the bottom hook about half to 2/3 of the way along the body, just in under the skin and back out again on the same side. Then I adjust the top hook so it goes through the nose area without pulling the line between the two hooks tight. I've caught a few big fish on these now and I haven't had a hook failure yet, so I'm very confident with them. occasion. It didn't take long. Oh, you got to go back. Okay, go back and grow up a bit, eh? Now that I've used the few winter whiting baits that I had, I'm down to using the smaller Yakkas. For the Yakkas, I've been putting 4 or 5 per cryovac bag and freezing them. When I take them out, I keep them in an esky with plenty of ice so that they don't thaw too quickly. By now, they've been out of the freezer and in the esky for about 7 hours, so they've softened up enough that I can get a hook into it without tearing the flesh, but they're not fully thawed yet. Well, you're no good to me. Go back and grow up a bit. I'll catch you in a year or 2. Or 3 or 4. Notice that I only take one out and I put the rest back in the esky. I want to keep them as cold as possible until I need to use them. Even if they're close to 0 degrees in the esky, they'll warm up very rapidly once they get in the water. They're only a small bait, so it doesn't take much to warm them through. Check on this one now. Oh! Oh, what happened there? Some structure down there. I felt it rub. Yep, that's what it was. Whatever got that. That needs a bit of setting up. got off. Baited. Thought he must have been. I think the other one probably has been too. This is a good sequence to show how I bait my sliding snell rigs. I start by measuring the rig against the fish to see if I need to adjust the gap between the hooks so I can at least get it close. Then I put the bottom hook through the side of the bait and back out the same side, just pinning under the skin. This keeps the maximum barb exposure with the shank of the hook lying back towards the head. Then I put the top hook through the bony part of the head. By putting that hook through the bony part of the head, I make the bait hard to get off the hooks while still giving really good barb exposure. And then before casting it in, I just check to make sure that the line between the two hooks is a little bit loose so the fish isn't bent up. Oops. Oh, okay. Oh! Probably a shark. Yep, bit me off. If you have a good look at the sonar here, you can see a lot of bait, but I think you can also see some larger fish in there. They're easiest to see in the fan-shaped beam in the upper left panel. You can see that some of the echoes there show a red centre. The red centre typically denotes a fish with a larger swim bladder, and a larger swim bladder often belongs to a larger fish. While it is possible for a really densely packed school of bait to show some red in the centre, I don't think that's the case here, at least not for all the returns that I can see with red centres. The drawback here is that that particular display mode is similar to an A-scope on a normal sounder. That is, I can only see a return while the fish is actually in the beam at that given moment. There is no history. Because of its nature, I only get to see what's down there while I'm actually focused on the display, looking at it and nothing else, because the fish is only there for a fleeting instant. Oh, what is here? Brim? Yeah, a halfway decent brim. What is he going? 29. 29. That's a nice little, well, little brim. Too small to worry about, but train back, he can go another day. Yeah. So what's happened to this bloke? Yeah, there we go. Sorry to keep you up there for so long, but I didn't expect the brim to come along. Must be baited at least, surely, after that. No, not. Had a good run at it, but it didn't take a hook. This is one packet of my leftover bait that I cryobacked for later use. I've got about 4 or 5 packets there now. I didn't manage to get any fish that I wanted to keep, but I did prove that the chin weight works to troll largish pike, and also that Harries is still plagued with sharks. On the other hand, I did manage a feed of crabs, albeit a small one, just enough for my wife and myself. But most importantly of all, I accomplished the main aim of the trip, and that is that my Suzuki has nearly finished its break-in period. One more short trip will see it all finished, then it will be ready for its 20-hour service. I plan to get that trip done in the next week or so, and that will probably just be a bait gathering trip. And once the 20-hour service is done, I will be looking for some good weather for a trip offshore, perhaps out to the shelf. Until then, good fishing.